Hello YouTube and welcome to the shop. So today's video, and probably for the next several months, we're going to be working on a project. I've been wanting a super reliable, super capable truck for a very long time. I live in upstate New York, and up here the salt and stuff just destroys our vehicles. It destroys our electronics, it destroys our grounds, it destroys all of our wiring. So I want to get back to a mechanical truck. So my options were buy an old truck that was non-mechanical, something like a square body, something along those lines. But I also wanted a little more power than that style truck puts out. Now, of course, I could build a small block and put it in there, but as you increase your horsepower, you're also reducing your reliability. That's just kind of the way it goes. I mean, at least up to a certain threshold. So my goals for this truck are: number one, I want it to be uber reliable. Number two, I want to be able to pull my excavator on my triaxle and not worry about it a bit. And I want a frame that's thick enough that it's going to stand up for, at least, 15, 20 more years. So let me show you what I got and kind of what my thoughts are. All right, so I picked up this F550 dump truck about maybe 3 years ago or so. It's got a masonry bed on it, and it is four-wheel drive. So I picked this up. I did run this for quite a while. It's got the 7.3 in it, which I know there's a lot of guys out there that really love this motor. And honestly, if it wasn't for the electronics, I probably would too. I've got a gremlin in this that I can't find. Basically what it'll do is it'll run for any place from 2 minutes to 20 minutes and then shut off like you killed the key. And I've already gone through new cam sensors, OEM cam sensors, pigtails for the cam sensor. The float or the fuel bowl is always full when it dies. It's not starving of fuel. HPOP, engine wiring harness, PCM. I've already gone through quite a bit on this, and I still haven't figured out what this gremlin is. But not only that, but this 7.3 is pretty underpowered considering that it's a 7-liter diesel engine. So I don't like the motor, so I think it's gonna go. What my plans are for this is we're gonna yank that motor, we're gonna pull the dump bed off, put a dumping flatbed on just because it's a little more versatile, and then we're gonna utilize the frame, chassis, and body off of this, just because the F550, I mean, she's built like a tank. I mean, just look at the leaf spring packs. I do plan on going through and cleaning all of this up, but for a New York truck, this frame is actually in really good shape. I mean, there's some mounting points that are getting kind of tender here and there, but the frame itself is solid, so it's going to give me a really good starting point for this truck. And I'm going to, so using the frame and body off of that Ford, it's going to give me a pretty good platform to start with. So that's going to give me my super thick frame and just a heavy duty chassis to play with. The 7.3 is going to go away, and she's going to be replaced with this 24 valve Cummins. Now 24 valve Cummins also have electronically controlled fuel management system. That's going to go away. I'm going to put a P-pump on this. So 24 valve Cummins are computer controlled, which I said I don't want. So we're actually going to take all of the computer stuff off of this. We're going to P-pump it and do a slight increase in horsepower. I think stock this motor is like 230 or 300 horse, something in that area. I'd have to actually look and see. I don't think this is the HO. But I'll probably do like 100 horsepower power adders of some sort. For sure, we're going to do injectors, the injection pump, and between those two things, I can probably get that, 300, maybe 320, 350 horse out of her. And that's really all I need. 350 horse coming out of a Cummins is nothing for the motor to handle. You don't need head studs or anything like that. I mean, the motor will be just fine. Then behind it, right now, this Dodge truck has an automatic, and Lord knows their automatics suck, so we're not going to keep that guy. I think I'm going to end up doing something around a 10-speed manual in it. Maybe an Eaton box or like a RTO, a Road Ranger, something along those lines. I haven't sourced the transmission yet. Once I get the motor out of here, setting the chassis on the Ford, I'll see kind of how much room I have to play with. I think I am going to end up doing like a 3-inch body lift or maybe a 2-inch body lift on the Ford, just to create a little bit of space between the transmission and the tunnel. If I've got to do a custom tunnel, that's fine too. I don't really care. I'll probably get rid of the bucket seats, or get rid of the bench seat that's in it and put bucket seats. It's not really a truck that's going to be driving a bunch of people around. It's going to be a working truck, but one that I like and that I'm kind of proud of. So that's my goal. Let's get started. So first thing we got to do is get the Cummins out of here. The backstory on this particular motor, it does have diesel fuel in the oil, which tells me that we've got either an injector leaking or maybe an injector tube leaking, something along those lines. It was not ran for very long with the diesel in the oil, and the motor does start and run beautiful. There's no knocking or clicking or anything like that. Just to be on the safe side, when I get this motor out of here, I am going to put some new bearings in the bottom end and take a good look at everything. I don't think I'm going to do a full-on rebuild, but as long as the cylinders are in good shape, pistons are, in good shape, no signs of like melting tops or anything like that, then I'm probably just going to put some bearings in it, a seal kit, and then we're going to drop it right back in. This truck has 140,000 miles on the clock, so it's really not a very high mileage as far as a diesel engine goes. So first, we're going to get started. We're going to get the batteries out of here. Once we got the batteries out of there, I think I'm going to attack the top side first. We'll get the radiator fan shroud. We'll probably pull this front clip just so we've got enough room to pick the motor up and slide it out. I don't know for sure yet if I'm going to pull the bumper, but probably. There's not a lot on this truck that I'm planning on reusing, so I'm not going to be super gentle with it. So let me get you set up on a little tripod and we'll rock and roll. All right, so we're back at it today. Yesterday I got most everything unbuttoned from the top of the motor. Then we crawled underneath, got the transmission pulled out, undid everything from the bottom. Today we're gonna get the cherry picker set up and yank this motor out and take a good look at it, see what all we got to play with. So let's get rolling. All right, so as is par for the course, I'm pulling a motor and I forgot a dozen things that I had to disconnect. It happens. So we got the motor out. I don't need any of the electronics. I'm not going to need any of these fuel pipes. So we're going to pull that stuff off. The stock fuel pump is still on here, but they actually have a FAS fuel pump sitting on the rail. So I'm going to yank that guy off too. Even though the P pump, a lot of times you don't really need a heavy duty lift pump for it. It ain't gonna hurt it to put one on, so we're gonna go ahead and reuse that. And then after that, we're gonna figure out if my little engine stand is gonna be sufficient to hold this. I go 50-50. I may have to do a little fabricating and build a little bit heavier duty of an engine stand. I don't even know if I've got all the pieces. I've moved that thing, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now, and I just don't do a whole lot of stuff where I've got to have an engine stand for it. So, but it came out pretty decent. Like I said, forgot a couple of things, had to fight with a couple of things, but progress is progress no matter how you look at it. So let's keep going. Alright, so motor's out. I just got done pulling off a bunch of the random stuff that I know I'm not going to need, or pretty sure I'm not going to need. I've got all that stuff piled up over here. I'm not going to get rid of a whole lot initially, because, I mean, once I'm putting this in that Ford, there's no telling what I'm going to be able to reuse or grab or modify or make work. So, at this point, next stage, I'm going to get her sprayed down with some degreaser and get the pressure washer hooked up, get her washed. I'm gonna go upstairs, grab the engine stand, see if I got all the pieces, bring it down, and try to get this guy mounted. And so yeah, we'll go from there. So in true fashion around here, I had part of my engine stand, but not the whole thing. So I had to run down to Harbor Freight real quick and buy a engine stand. So I'm going to get that put together and then try to figure out some way to get that guy mounted up. so I bought this Harbor Freight engine stand, and I opted to get the, I think it's 2,000 pound or 1,500 pound. Let me check. So it's a 2,000 pound engine stand. So plenty of safety margin there. The block itself, or the motor itself, weighs about $1,000. So here's my problem though, is the plate that bolts to the motor is wider than the bolts that I've got to put into the side of the block. So that kind of sucks a little bit. But if I rotate the plate upwards, then now there's alignment pins that hold the block from rotating, and those pins are not drilled at 90-degree angles. It's like there's 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. So no matter how I mount this, the motor is way crooked forwards or backwards, and I just don't want that. And then not only that, but it's such a heavy motor that you get that little bit of tilt on it, and if you don't get the pin in or you're trying to rotate it, it just keeps falling. So I don't know for sure what I'm going to do here. I'm going to have to play around a little bit. I'll let you know when I come up with a solution. Alright, so let me show you what's going on here. So these bolts, and these bolts. This is the center line of the block right here. What I'd like to do is mount the engine mount here, or the engine stand here, because that's going to allow me to turn this motor, because I do want to change out the bearings and stuff. I know most of the time you'd go onto the bell housing here, but I don't want to do that. One, because it's a lot of weight out forward of the motor, and two, this has got to come off because it's an automatic bell housing, and this is going to get a manual transmission. So my dilemma is this guy here. So with the plate sitting sideways, there's a hole right here that corresponds to that hole right there. So that'll keep the motor sideways. My dilemma is that this is too wide to go on there, and I can mount it vertically, but then I don't have a bolt hole that's in the center here, so the motor wants to sit like this. I thought I was going to be able to mount it vertically and then twist the plate itself, but there's not enough give in these to do it. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some measurements here. I've got some 1/4-inch plate steel. I'll draw it up on the plasma cutter, and then on the CNC plasma machine. We'll get all of these measurements. We'll get this bolt pattern off of here, and then I'm going to make a plate that's going to bolt to the motor and then have holes that will correspond to here. I'll probably have to do a spacer between the plate here, the plate I'm going to make, and the plate for the engine stand, just so I've got room to get a bolt head through there. So I'm going to take some measurements, and then we'll get started. Boy, it's always something. Like, no matter what project you're doing, you always run into some dilemma. This engine stand has really got me frustrated. A brand new engine stand, and it ain't worth a shit. That plate you should be able to mount horizontally or vertically. Shouldn't matter. The holes on the back should have been drilled so that you could do it. And then not only that, but the front bearing on the engine stand doesn't even really fit. It's not a, I wouldn't even call it a friction fit. You can pull it in and out with your hands. There's no set screw or anything like that that holds it in. It's just sitting in there. So if you're going to get an engine stand from Harbor Freight, don't get this one. Alright, so I'll start by just doing a rough sketch of what I'm looking for. So it's going to be a rectangle. I'm going to put a little bit of slop in here. So we're gonna go with 3 3/4 to center. Let's double check that. No, take that back. 3 1/4 to center. Boy, I'm glad I double checked. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 1/4 center to center. Doop, doop. And then spacing on these is going to be 6 and 5 3/4. So 5 3/4. And I burned an inch. Did I take that into account? No, I sure didn't. So this is going to be 2 1/4. That would have been some wasted steel. So 2 1/4 is my vertical spacing. 5 3/4 is my horizontal spacing. Then, let's see, total plate size is going to be about as big as I'm going to be able to go is probably 11 inches. So we'll go 11 inches that way, and then total plate size up and down, we'll give it a 3/4 on both sides. So that's going to be 4 1/2. It is going to be right here. Okay, so now I need to get the bolt pattern off of this guy. So we're gonna go 7 7/8. So those bolts are gonna land someplace in here. So from there to there is 7 7/8. And then this way is 3 7/8. So here to here is 3 7/8. Now this isn't to scale, it's not even close. It's getting me the measurements that I need to just draw this out on the computer, and that's going to tell me a whole lot better whether or not this will work or not. These bolt holes are 5/8. So right here is 5/8, and these little guys here, like I said, I'm going to put a little bit of slop in here so that I can kind of wiggle it a little bit if I need to. So we're going to make these, actually we'll do 5/8 on those also. So 5/8 for both. 5/8. All right, let me take you over. We'll get you set up at the computer, and I'll show you how the CNC plasma table works. Cool. All right, so here's what I came up with. Basically, these 6 holes here will go into the block. These 4 holes here are going to go into the engine stand plate. So I'm going to have to put some spacers here because I'm going to have a bolt head sticking out of each of those. So let me get this. Let me get some steel set up on the plasma table, and then we'll show you the plasma cutting. All right, so this is what it looks like fresh off the plasma table. And that's the top of it. On the back, you do get a little bit of dross. You'll notice that I don't have any dross this way and then dross going this way. that's kind of typical of a plasma cutter. If you really took your time and dialed in your settings, like if you did nothing but 1/4 inch all the time, or you did enough of it to justify spending the time to really get it dialed in, you could probably get that tossed down a little bit. But really, it's not that hard to get rid of. So, just a cold chisel, give it a little whack, and it flies right off. If you're thinking about getting a plasma cutter, if you do a lot of one-off stuff, it's worth its weight in gold. We're just going to check and see if my holes here line up. And, ow, that's still hot. They do. Yay. Alright, so here's kind of what I come up with. So, here's that plate that I just plasma cut. Then, we'll throw a bolt in there. I cut up some spacers out of some black iron pipe. And so these guys are going to bolt in here. And that's going to give me the space I need back here to put bolts through into the block. So, I'm going to have to bolt this plate onto the block with these bolts behind it, so that I can then get everything kind of situated. So I think it's going to work. I hope it's going to work. If it doesn't, I'm going to be pissy. So I'm going to take this over to the engine and start putting this together. All right, so we're test fitting the plate right now. And I do have one issue. I've got no way to get a wrench on the back side of these bolts. And I may have to lob the corner off of this guy to clear that hose. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a tack weld on each one of these bolts just to hold them in place, and then lob off this corner here, and we should be in pretty good shape. So let me get that done and then we'll get back to it. All right. Plan R. I was running the bolts in with some nuts on them just to hold them square so that I could tack weld these heads on. And then it dawned on me, I can use those nuts as a spacer, and then I don't have to use the pipe in it. And now it's going to keep my nuts from spinning when I tighten these down. So I think that's actually going to work out really good. So I do have to lob off a corner up here to clear this guy, and then hopefully we'll be all right. All right, so I lobbed off that corner there with the torch real quick. Nothing fancy. We should be able to start bolting this guy on, and if all goes well, Jesus, I may actually have an engine mount. I did make these bolt holes just a little bigger than they really needed to be, just so I had enough room. If I got something just a little bit off here or there, it wasn't going to be the end of the world for me. And to be completely honest, if all I can get in is 4 or maybe 5 of these, I'm going to be happy. But it looks like all 6 are going to go. You sound about dead. That little hand ratchet, I like that guy just for spinning stuff on and off, but anything that's gonna hold weight, I like to hit with the wrench also. All right, so now need to get some 1/2-inch nuts and some washers. Now, I've spent a day. Oh, well, I've spent about 5 hours trying to just mount this engine to the stand. Like, that's just ridiculous. And all because Harbor Freight can't put a hole right here. I understand that most people are going to mount to the bell housing. I mean, that's kind of the quote-unquote normal, but still. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, baby. So now we just gotta get that guy slid onto here, and then hopefully this will hold its own weight without breaking the engine stand. But we shall see. So here's hilarious. So we got it all mounted. Everything looks good. And there is this much play in this pin holding the motor. Like, that's just crazy. Like, I just don't even... It's garbage. Like, that's the only thing I can say. So, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a ratchet strap over here to get this motor horizontal. And then I think I'm going to try to drill into here so that I can actually drop a legitimate pin in. This shaft, I don't know if it's hardened or not. I mean, I wouldn't think it is. I guess we'll find out. If it is hardened, I don't think I'm going to be able to drill through it. This isn't, so I kind of hoping, or maybe I'll go in from the side so I've got some room here. Or maybe I'll just hold it with a ratchet strap. 50-50. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for today. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Next video is probably going to be tearing down some of the block, getting it cleaned up, getting some parts ordered. I'm going to order a P-pump conversion kit for this. And I'm going to look and see as far as like injectors and horsepower. Like I said, I want this to live someplace between 350 and 400 horse. And between 700 and 800 foot-pounds of torque. Those power levels, this motor shouldn't have any problem at all. So that's where we're at. Again, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.